From the 915 to H-Town, from the Panhandle Plains to the Valley, and everywhere in between, this is the 50/50 Podcast, powered by the 50/50 Podcast Network. Join me, Hector Cano, as we cover the Texas high school club and college soccer landscape, along with an inside look at the college soccer recruiting scene. The 50/50 Podcast is a platform about the people and for the people who are dedicated to the beautiful game. Here we go. It's your special edition of the UT and A&M pregame show. Oh, I'm sorry. Got mixed up there. It is season 6, episode 2 of Inside Texas High School Soccer. I am your host, Coach Hector Cano, joined by my lovely co-host, my Vanna White, as I call him, the Obi-Wan Kenobi of Texas High School Soccer. He is Coach Rafa Castorena. Rafa, how are you, buddy?
Pretty good. How was your Thanksgiving?
Dude, I keep giving you these intros and you just let me down, man. You let me down. Yeah, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. How was my Thanksgiving was great, man. How about yours?
It was pretty good. Even better with the Cowboys winning. So shout out to Matt. Chiefs out of the playoffs.
Yeah, well, I'm sure he's not a Chiefs. I'm sure he's not a Chiefs fan. I have met so many more Chiefs fan in like the last 3-4 years for some reason. I don't know why. But no, always Chiefs kind of have a kind of near and dear place to my heart since they were, one of the franchises born there in Dallas, which a lot of people don't know, right? As the Dallas Texans before they moved. But yeah, interesting. What were your thoughts on that on that game yesterday?
It was pretty good because I didn't really get to see it, just listening on XM, but I saw the highlights. It was back and forth. I mean, it was a great game. I mean, it lived up to what kind of the hype for it, even though the both teams have bad records right now. But I mean, it was worth
Right.
it. A lot better
Yeah,
than
but
the
they're
evening game.
yeah, it's just it's interesting just because Kansas City is what it is, and you just know as long as they have Patrick Mahomes and they're just excuse me, you can't go off of their record, right? And then the Cowboys, you never know what to expect, man. They're might be the best going into yesterday's game. You can make the argument they were the best 5-5-1 team that we've seen in recent memory in the NFL, and then they got it done yesterday. So interesting match. Got a little close at the end, made it a little too close, but glad to see they were able to pull it out. So how was the rest of your Thanksgiving?
Pretty good. Just spending with my mom and my aunts and my cousins and grandnephews and nieces. Just had a good time. Just eating, chit chatting. Uh, just some little Black Friday stuff this morning with my mom. Just
Yeah,
some little errands. Yeah, it was. I saw some
yeah.
places a little chaotic with the TVs and all that. And plus, we're getting rain over here too. It's been raining a lot over here. A
Oh
lot.
no,
Been
raining
raining
Del Rio, right?
5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, right. It's raining there right now.
Yeah, it just stopped about maybe 30 minutes ago, but it was
Well,
flooding around the street.
gotcha. Gotcha. So here we are. We are season 6, episode 2 of Inside Texas High School Soccer. And before we go any further, definitely want to give a big shout out to our title sponsor in Jeanette Spain, TexasVeteranRealtor.com. This episode is brought to you by Jeanette Spain at TexasVeteranRealtor.com, your go-to realtor for military and veteran families in Central Texas. With her cover and move, I got your 6 approach. You focus on the move while she handles the contracts, deadlines, and even the details. Want a realtor who works for you and fights for you? Then you need to visit TexasVeteranRealtor.com for your free no pressure strategy session. Again, that's Jeanette Spain at TexasVeteranRealtor.com. Crazy, man. Season 6, we talked about a little bit in episode 1 just the other day, right? On Wednesday. I can't believe it's already season 6. We've been doing this going on. The podcast will turn officially 5 years old next in what, like 2.5 weeks? But already season 6 of this, man. How is that? Has it flown by for you, or what do you think in
I
terms
think
of you
so.
see what this show has become to where it started and what it's become?
It's really evolved, kind of from your concept, then just kind of when Jake came along, Steven and Harry just kind of building it from there. It's really kind of blown up, but it was a good outlet that was needed. High school soccer wasn't getting its views, and also getting the right people too.
Right.
They're passionate, they have background, actually coach or in coaching stuff. and so forth, recruitment based, side too as well. It's evolved, and you have a lot of great guests, a lot of great coaches inside on their programs and stuff, and also the fun times, leading up to like bracketology and the RPIs and so forth.
Yeah, yeah. And we do mention we appreciate Rafa being on a remote, being in Del Rio. He is pushing through some, as we mentioned on Wednesday, through some audio issues, and but yeah, we appreciate it nonetheless. Yeah, I was checking out this College Cup, man. What's going on right now? The quarterfinal got the Duke and Washington. Spoiler alert, right? Duke and Washington. Second half right now. Won't go into the score, but second half just started, and the Washington Huskies women's soccer program. That story is pretty amazing. If you're not familiar with it, should definitely be one you should be checking out. So, wishing them the best of luck. Always easy to root against Duke. That's just my take personally. But Rafa, you there? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, gotcha. Want to make sure you didn't freeze on me. All right. So excited about today's excuse me, excited about today's show. We got a lot to go over, as we mentioned earlier, but everything from we got a special guest that's going to be joining us shortly, as we're going to talk about we're going to go ahead and we're going to talk a little bit about showcases and tournaments. As everybody knows, everybody should know, these first 3 weekends, I should say, in January are big ones across the state of Texas. There are multiple tournaments, multiple showcases, particularly more of them I'm glad to see have gone the way of showcases versus tournaments, because no squad needs to be playing 5 or 6 games in 2.5 days this early into the season, right? I think from the periodization perspective, especially if you have a lot of club players as well, in any given case, you have players that are missing. You have players that have played a lot already when we're kicking off our season. And while I get it, coaches need to figure out what they have more or less against different competition. I am a big fan of the showcases, of knowing exactly how many games you're going to play, when you're going to play them, and if it's ideally one a day, that helps. Not ideal still, but it is what it is. So, but yeah, we're very much appreciative of those programs, those tournament showcase directors that host at some of the great showcases and tournaments across the state of Texas. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk a little bit about, we unveiled something today. We'll be unveiling something today. The watch list, something in place of it, is not the RPI, but I am going to give Rafa some grief when we get to it, because it might as well be, I guess, right? But that's just me giving him a hard time behind the scenes. And then we also, our very special piece, right, is our our champions review, right? So, and I'm excited about this one. It's probably one of our most talked about, one of our most liked segments that we do, especially early of Inside Texas High School Soccer. But part of it, I feel like, what's more exciting about this year is, like, it's the first time we'll ever discuss it, Rafa, like this, in this new format, in a Division I and Division II format. So previously, we had always discussed it, and we only had 6 state champions, and now we have 12, given, of course, the D1, D2 split. So yeah, excited about all of that. But before we do anything else, we're going to go ahead and bring in our one and only guest of the show joining us today. She is Coach Bailey. Coach, you got to help me with this. Perrine. I always say Perrine, right?
Perrine, yes.
Perrine. All right. I was going to say, correct me on that if I get it wrong. So she is the head women's soccer coach of the Dripping Springs Tigers, the Lady Tigers, as well as tournament or showcase director, I should say, of the Hill Country Soccer Showcase. Coach, how are you?
Good. How are you? Happy Thanksgiving.
Hey, happy Thanksgiving. I know you're kind of limited in terms of your signal. You're joining us on the road, right? Heading back home. So we appreciate you. We
Yeah.
won't keep you too long. I promise, because I know it can be hit or miss in that stretch of the road where you are. But we do appreciate you being with us. How are things?
Good. Yeah, just driving back. The Dripping Springs Tigers just beat Medina Valley in football, so going on to the next
Go.
round.
There we go.
Yes. Playing the winner of San Marcos and Vandegrift. So we'll see that if you follow
Yeah.
football.
Yeah. Regional final, right? It'll be a regional final.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Yeah. So how was your Thanksgiving? How's everything? What's the lead up getting ready for December 1st and your girls?
Oh, well, I went to Tasco with my assistant coach and hung out with a bunch of other Texas coaches. That always kind of motivates me and gets me pumped for the season. And I'm excited. We've talked lineups, but it's really fun to get in December and see it in some of those scrimmages. Got some pretty good scrimmages lined
Mhm.
up. So to really test us, we're playing Smithson Valley, Round Rock, and San Antonio Clark. So
Wow.
got some good
Yeah.
got some good scrimmages lined up.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, the only time I didn't see you at Tasco, right? The only time I saw you was through a picture in the women's and coaching social. I was
Yes.
I missed you, but no, all good. I was locked in the dungeon, as I call it, interviewing away. But
Yes.
no, I was glad you were able to make it. What were your thoughts on, since you mentioned it? What were your thoughts on Tasco this year? The convention, just the interaction, the vibe, your experience. What was it like?
So I feel like every year I get to know more and more people. I usually treat it like a networking event, and it just kind of solidifies my love for coaching high school soccer. Uh, just getting to know more people and then getting to see how they do throughout the year and then getting to see them at the state tournament. I mean, ideally, I'd like to be playing at the state tournament and not networking and socializing, but
Right, 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 right.
I feel like the more people you get to know, the more people that are hopefully cheering for you to win. But yeah, so I thought it was a good turnout, and got to hang out with some good
Yeah.
friends and that I don't get to see all the time.
Yeah. Biggest takeaway from the convention this year, something that's at the forefront that stood out to you.
So I'm friends with Zane Barnes, who spoke on recruiting,
Hmm.
and he talked about using Huddle, and I thought about how I can utilize that and utilize Huddle better for just film breaking down and getting the girls to start making highlight videos and making that a priority for them because I have quite a few girls that actually don't play club. Like you'd be surprised, but I like in Dripping Springs, there's quite a few girls that don't play club that are on my varsity squad that start and get good minutes. So
Hmm.
trying to figure out how to help them the best I can as a high school coach that doesn't have a player that doesn't have necessarily club coaches.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah, yeah, that is. I think we all find ourselves in a bit of that conundrum, right? That ensuring that we're not tailoring to exclusively only club players and figuring
Hmm.
out sometimes thinking outside of the box as to how we can help some of our players that are not playing club but have those aspirations to maybe want to be recruited and play at the next level for sure. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, that's a great point. Yeah, Zane Barnes, who by the way we've had on this podcast before a couple of years
Hmm.
ago, but yeah, um, so definitely familiar with his work. So the reason why we have you here is you're going to tell us a little bit more about the Hill Country Soccer Showcase. Give us a little bit more of the inner workings, just, the dates, who's in it, the logistics behind it, all of that stuff. Whatever you can share with us, people who
Yeah.
may want to
So
get more information, go ahead, share away.
So Will at Lake Travis, Will Maloney,
Never
is
heard of
the
him. Never
main.
heard of him.
Never heard of him. He's our main recruiter, so he goes out and gets all the teams. He's like pumped about it, gets super hyped, and then he this year he made a schedule, and then I kind of went in and changed it only because he'd have maybe two teams playing on Thursday or
Yeah.
like the same teams playing each other Thursday and Saturday. So I went in and kind of changed it up.
Good on
I
you.
actually
Somebody's got to
this
always
year,
check that guy. Somebody always has to check
yeah,
that guy. So good on you. Good on you.
I this year I actually used AI a little bit after I made the schedule. I threw it into Google Gemini and said, "Hey, using Max Prep's history, are these good matchups?" And it actually came out and said, "I think I had us against Reagan originally." And it was like, "Reagan statistically will kill Dripping Springs." And I was like, "Oh,
Oh,
lovely. Thank
wow.
you, ChatGPT."
Like
Uh
it used that exact terminology. I mean, that
No, it
exact
wasn't
verbiage
that exact
or, oh, okay. Okay.
terminology, but it was like
Oh, okay.
both
Sure.
programs are really good, but in the last couple of years, it looks like Reagan might outweigh and dominate Dripping Springs.
Yeah. I was going to say, if it used that verbiage, I was like, wow, that's like no chill Gemini. Wow.
Right?
Right.
If it, I guess if it, AI kind of goes off of your personality and you talk back and forth with it, doesn't it kind of adjust to how it talks to you?
Right.
I don't
Right.
know, maybe. But yeah, so I threw it in there to make sure that no times messed up. We added JV this year, so I made sure that if Vandergrift JV was playing at one field, Vandergrift freshman wasn't playing at the other field. Um, so kind of looking at that, and then I have like all three Johnson varsity, Johnson JV, and Johnson freshman or Johnson JV two. Playing at Dripping Springs. I don't have like their varsity at Dripping Springs and their JVs at Lake Travis. So kind of all of that, making sure
Yeah.
that the schedules line up, making sure they don't play at the same time. That way they have their entire coaching staff available for all the
Hmm.
games, but not that like your varsity's playing at 11 and your freshman or your JV2's playing at 7 p.m. Like that's not fair either. So trying
Right.
to get them all kind of back to back. All the things that kind of annoy me as a coach if I go to a different tournament, if I'm driving 3 to 5 hours away, I don't want to leave at 4 o'clock on a Saturday to go home. So trying to get, the people that travel the furthest, the latest game on Thursday and like the earliest game on Saturday. But yeah. And
Yeah.
then getting all of those things turned into referees,
Oh God. Yeah.
you know. So, and
So what?
then
Oh, I'm
I
sorry. Go ahead.
talked with BSN this year, and I'm getting that. And BSN is sponsoring or donating game balls for all the fields.
Oh,
So,
nice.
and
Nice.
I'm going to do where each team, all the varsity teams, get to keep one of the balls to give as a all tournament to their all tournament team player. So, like a
Gotcha.
game ball. So, we haven't done that before. I thought that would be
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is awesome. So give us a little bit more. So the layout, not the, I guess, logistics or the layout, but the time frame, the weekend, all of that, coach, for coaches that might be interested that aren't in your field now, but might be interested in the future.
So, it is the third weekend. And we try to avoid the second weekend. Usually, the second weekend, a lot of ECNL girls go to Florida. Not always. This year, I don't have a ton going to Florida. The third weekend for teams that have, for the districts that have 9 teams in their district, usually aren't able to attend. But it's the third weekend. We guarantee you 3 games. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I think it's January 16th, 17th, 18th, maybe,
Yeah.
but
15th,
whatever
15th
that
through the
weekend
17th.
is.
Yeah. 15th through the 17th. Yeah.
Yes.
Gotcha. So
And
tell us a little bit about that field, coach.
yeah.
Who's in that field that obviously you're excited that you have all the teams you do, but maybe some particular programs, some heavy hitters that you're excited to have.
Yeah. So we're splitting up all the games between Dripping Springs High School, Lake Travis High School, and Westlake High School. So those
Gotcha.
3 are in it. Um, Then we have a few San Antonio schools that always come up just because it's closer. They might not need to have to get a hotel. So we have San Antonio
Mhm.
Reagan, San Antonio Clark, San Antonio Johnson coming up. And then we got a few Houston schools. So Houston Episcopal came last year and are coming back this year.
Mhm.
We were able to snag Ridge Point. We have Houston Stratford coming. So
Nice.
some big heavy hitters. And of
Yeah.
course, I scheduled myself against both of them with Johnson. So I
Yeah.
really wanted to test our girls out.
Right. Right. Great stuff. So tell us a little bit in terms of the process of the planning for a showcase, right? For being a tournament director, showcase director, what turns out to be the far easier thing than you expected, and what is maybe one thing that turns out to be the far more complicated or harder thing than you expected?
Um, I mean, easy because Maloney kind of does the recruiting. He gets really excited about calling coaches up and getting teams. The hard thing is when teams have to fall out last minute, or not necessarily last minute, but after I've already sent the schedule out, and they're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, we have something came up." I think I had 2 teams that weren't able to make it, and then but it all kind of works out. So one team was only going to play 2 games because they couldn't make the Saturday. But when a team fell out, I asked her if she wanted to actually play 3 games and just 2 on Friday. And she was excited about that. So she's still getting 3 games in, but not having to play Saturday. Um, and so things just kind of work out. I think
Hmm.
Westlake is going to play 4 games, so they're going to play 2 games on Saturday.
Oh wow.
And but that's where it kind of comes in, or when people start requesting special times after the schedule comes out.
Right.
But it's not. I haven't gotten too flustered about it because I usually do it pretty early. So I think I sent out our schedule either the end of September or the beginning of October.
Hmm.
And yeah.
Gotcha. Great stuff. Rafa, you got anything for Coach Perrine?
Coach, what do you foresee in the future as far as the growth of the showcase? What's your kind of goals for this?
Ideally, it'd be cool to get sponsors and get T-shirts and get, just the name out there. Our field, I was talking with the Georgetown coach, and he thinks our field at Dripping Springs is actually wider than the Georgetown field. And then Lake Travis's new stadium is going to be built and ready for the fall, I'm pretty sure, or ready for next spring. And then, so you have 2 big fields there that are comparable to the Georgetown field. And honestly, love Georgetown tournament because you get to play on the state field, but if you come to our tournament, you get Georgetown size fields, and you get 2 stadiums doing that, the Lake Travis
Mhm.
Stadium and the Dripping Springs Stadium,
Right.
with no track around it. So it becomes a fun place. And then you're in Austin, Dripping Springs, Hill Country area, get to see some fun places, maybe eat out, some good
Yeah.
food.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So lots of great places to eat in that area for sure.
Yeah.
That Hill Country corridor area right there. So yeah. So we start shifting gears here, Coach. You got so we can get you out of here. Tell us, how do you feel going into this season? Right, we're on the eve of the start of the season, as you know. How do you feel about your girls, and what can you tell us going into the start of the season?
So I have some great girls. I'm returning. I lost one senior that was injured last year, and so I'm returning everyone. They're in super high hopes. They're excited. They're pumped. Finishing off season, going into Thanksgiving. I think also seeing the football team be successful, go on these runs, go to the playoffs. Our volleyball team went to the regional championship. Uh, so they get excited. It's really fun to see the success of other programs. A lot of them play with a lot of the Lake Travis girls, so they got to see their success last year, and I think that motivates them. So a lot of talent returning, and I think they're motivated and excited. We got good tests coming up, and yeah, they're excited to wake up early.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet. I bet. She is Coach Bailey Perrin, the head women's soccer coach of the Dripping Springs Lady Tigers, as well as the showcase director of the Hill Country Soccer Showcase, which is slated for that third weekend in January, January 15th through the 17th. Coach, really appreciate you. I know you are navigating your way somewhere between Dallas and Dripping Springs right now, right? So,
Yep.
so safe travels. Really appreciate you. I know you have to push through some technology issues there, but really appreciate your time. Thank you for being here. And look, it's been too long since we've had you on here, so glad you're
Yeah,
finally back on, and need to have you back on here soon.
absolutely. Well, y'all have a great day, great weekend.
You too. Be safe, Coach. Take care. Thank you.
Bye.
All right, that is Coach Bailey Perrine, the head women's soccer coach of Dripping Springs Lady Tigers. What'd you think, Coach?
I should have told her to give her a little shout out to her booster club. They have one of the best booster clubs.
Yeah, I completely forgot too. I
They
completely.
have one of the best booster clubs ever. They send me a beanie. They
Yeah,
always do a great job. Very
right.
supportive of the show. So shout out.
Yeah, yeah. They took care of us. They took care of us a few years back, and we jumped on. I can say we jumped on that bandwagon, the Lady Tiger bandwagon early, right before they won state. And yeah, the phenomenal booster club hooked us up with some, some just a beanie, and we're able to rep them. So excited to see what It's always a great program what she's done there, and but yeah, she just how she runs her program is an awesome thing to see. And the question was when they went from 5A to 6A is how would they adjust? How much of a struggle would it be? And they have, they didn't jump right into another state title, obviously, but they have made that transition pretty seamlessly, right? So, so yeah, definitely excited to see that showcase. the results that come out of that showcase in that third weekend of January. While we're talking showcases, Coach, thoughts on other showcases across the state of Texas? We mentioned the first 3 weekends in the state of Texas, but any thoughts as to, some, maybe if you can highlight one or two, not per weekend, but just maybe one or two that you might be big on, boys side, girls side, whichever, in addition to the Hill Country Soccer Showcase, which we just discussed? What are your thoughts?
I think the one big one is Nets for the girls in North Texas. Uh, I mean, you basically have teams, in my RPI in that one, but they also have some private school ones too, some out of state. You got some heavy hitters on that, and usually someone from that showcase makes a run to state. So that's one of the premier uh, showcases for the girls side. Whether it's 4A, 5A, 6A. If you really want to test yourself, that's the one you should go to. Um, Boys side, like I said, kind of the counterpart would be the North Texas Elite Showcase. Like I said, we've had some great teams on there every year. Um, even some from TAPS play there. It's like I said, they always run a great. Like I said, Capel always runs a great showcase there. I know they share the other fields with the Louisville ISD schools as well. For that showcase. So those are probably the two ones that kind of right off the bat. But then you also have um, one that you're going to. I think the one in Georgetown. They always run the
Right, right.
Governor's Cup.
Yeah,
Always a great turnout for boys and girls.
yeah,
That's one. But then even in Houston area, you got the ones of the Woodlands. A great the Katie Mojo one. That one's probably one of the biggest ones in the state. You got all close to 10, 12 Katie schools hosting. They got
right.
tons of teams there, but they run it great. And then I think last year we had from Allen. They run a great showcase.
Yeah,
You got
yeah.
some good pickings on where you can take some of your teams to go play some college.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Without a doubt. There's so many, and I'm glad to see how much they've evolved too over, just not that they're in direct competition with one another, but they can only be so big and they can only host so many schools. So when you have a variety of options in different parts of the state, that's always a great, it's a great those are just great opportunities for programs that are in search of a particular tournament or showcase on a particular weekend. So yeah, well said, well said. All right, that is going to do it for our first half of the show. We're going to come back. We're going to dive into Rafa's suspect watch list, as I call it, right? So the unveiling of his watch list, and then we're going to also discuss our 2025 champions review. But before we do that, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after a quick word from our partners. In the market for a new home, or maybe you'd just like to get more information? Then let us tell you about our new proud partner and title sponsor, Jeanette Spain at TexasVeteranRealtor.com, your go-to realtor for military and veteran families in Central Texas. With her cover and move I've got your six approach, you focus on the move while she handles the contracts, the deadlines, and even the details. Want a realtor who works like you and fights for you? Then you need to visit Jeanette Spain at TexasVeteranRealtor.com for your free no pressure strategy session. Again, that's Jeanette Spain at TexasVeteranRealtor.com, as well as at 737-210-5812. And then there are our great friends at Gipper. Gipper is a way that schools, athletic departments, ADs, and coaches create world-class marketing content. Join over 4,000 coaches and ADs and use Gipper to create high-quality, visual branded graphics for your program. The best part, anyone can do it in seconds on any device without needing any design experience whatsoever. If you do have significant experience in this process, then this is designed for you as well, as you are what they call the power user. Listeners of the 50/50 podcast can now receive 10% off any first-time Gipper purchase. Simply visit gipper.com/partner/5050 to learn more. Again, that's gipper.com/partner/5050 to learn more. All right, and we are back. It is episode 2 of season 6 of Inside Texas High School Soccer, and we've covered the first half, had our check-in, and talked with Coach Bailey Perrine of the Dripping Springs Lady Tigers as she discussed and shared with us just the inner workings, ins and outs, and information on the Hill Country Soccer Showcase, which is the third weekend, this January 15th through the 17th of 2026. So, Rafa, it is about that time to unveil the watch list. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. So, I'm going to go ahead and add this bad boy here. And then got to manipulate some things here. Here we go. So, Rafa, here is your initial unveiling of the watch list. Uh, so interesting, right? I gave you tons of grief when you sent this to me yesterday, right? Because I was like, dude, why don't we just call this your RPI, right? But I'm gonna let you dive into this, even though I had to give you the Lee Corso not so fast, my friend, right? I kind of wanted you to dive into kind of the explanations of why they're on your watch list. And tell us. I guess we'll break this down into five. So first, tell us about your first five, which consist of Salina, Life Waxahachie, Salado, Amarillo, and A&M Consolidated.
Yeah, like I said, what I did, because no really particular order, but the way I kind of did it on this was my watch list is more about what they're gonna, let's see what they're gonna do from build upon from last year to this year, kind of like the drama of the story. If you look at Salina, like we mentioned on the first episode, they're going for the one for the thumb. Who's the team that's going to deny them this year? And also with the coaching change, how's that going to affect them going into this season? And then number two with Life Waxahachie, uh, they've been a program on the radar for the last 2 years. Got eliminated last year by Salina. Are they the ones that are gonna end the streak? Where do they fall in? That's a team they really definitely need to watch. Another one that I got the pleasure to see last year play in person was Salado. Great squad. They just fell a little short. What do they have built back coming back this year? Are they gonna make another run?
Was this the Blitzkrieg last year? Was it the Salado girls? Is that who the
Yeah, that's the Blitzkrieg. I
it
saw like
was, right?
10
Okay.
goals in
Yeah.
like in
Yeah.
13 minutes.
For some
Um,
reason, I could not remember from thinking about it. It's like I thought it was them, but I was like I wasn't 100% sure. But anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, basically they're the run and shoot offense of Texas high school soccer. So, uh, and then number four, like we mentioned, we talked with Kevin. What is the dress rehearsal for Amarillo High for the Lady Sandys? They made a great run last year. Are they going to be able to break through, kind of like Canyon Randall did last year? Can it be, this, kind of the holdup for them is can they get past the Dallas area teams, and we'll see how they do. And then number five, the team I was very high on last year. Can they repeat again in that dreaded Region 3 A&M Consolidated? I'm sure they're in a collision course with some of the greats. You have Austin Anderson in that group. You have Georgetown. They had a great game last in the final too. So let's see what kind of repeat performance they have.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a dynamite first five here. And again, as Rafa mentioned, they aren't in any particular order other than alphabetical by classification. Here, as you see what three 4As, three 5As, and is that right? Or four 5As, I think,
Okay.
and three 6As. So they aren't in any particular order in terms of rating, ranking, anything like that. This is just how we situated them, just alphabetical by classification. But again, this is so our first five here that we discussed on our girls' side, on our women's side. Um, yeah, I think Salina, it is what it is. We'll discuss them a lot more later, right? Which is why I was giving you grief about this. But yeah, Life Waxahachie has been a great program to see evolve, right, year by year. So excited to see what they do. Salado, same thing. Salado was a program that we were just like, man, this could be a team we could see potentially in Georgetown, right? So yeah, and then as you mentioned, Kevin Gomez from Yellow City Soccer discussed to us in great deal an Amarillo program that he continues to be very high on. So what will that entail? And then yeah, the A&M Consolidated, who I felt was just one of the most dominant, consistent programs that was definitely not spoken about enough last year. And then, but we weren't surprised when they arrived in Georgetown, and they really took care of business there as well. So, yeah, how do they follow it up? Right? Do they come back hungrier, or do they suffer a little bit of that? That post championship hangover. They're very well coached. Have a lot of talent coming back. So I think yes, they are in a tough region, Region Three, but I think they're I mean, very much so going to be in the mix for sure. So, all right, the next five, coach, tell us 6 through 10. Take it away.
Well, you can't leave the as number 6 of the El Cucuy, the girl version of it, Frisco Wakeland. Not the finish that they wanted to, winning the state not falling short, and that was a surprise, getting knocked off by, I think, by Cedar Park, and how does that affect them going into this season? Do they learn from that? Are they going to make an? I'm sure they're going to make another run, but this time, are they going to be able to kind of make that redemption and finally get the job done? And like I said, that's just to keep an eye on them. I think they have something to prove, and I think if you're on their schedule, I'd definitely be ready for them. Number 7 was the surprise last year, and I know I got grief. I know Harry gave me grief last year on this on bracketology. Something about Grapevine, even though they had a bad record,
Right.
they made a run, and I picked them all the way, to that regional final, and and that team probably is returning a lot of players back, and that valuable experience is gonna make them a team to be watched. Especially, like I said, in Region One, they're gonna be a very dangerous team this year, and I wouldn't be surprised if they make a punch their ticket to Georgetown this year. Another team from the Metroplex area, Forney. Forney had a kind of came out of nowhere. The last couple of years of it kind of building and building, and finally, like I said, they've built a really good program. Can they take that next step? Kind of like we've had some other teams like the A&M Consolidated took that next step. Can
Right.
Forney be that next one and get to the state championship and win one? Um, no, and Ryan, I have Katie Seven Lakes. The girls, they've been so consistent the last few years. I know the boys got a lot of attention, but the girls have been making noise. They've kind of I see them as in the top team in the Region 3 for 6A. Are they going to make another run going into go to Georgetown? And then number 10, I have Lake Travis. They had a great run last year. I know they fell short on that final against a really good Capel team, but I have a feeling I think they have maybe a repeat performance, and I wouldn't be surprised they get back to that last game in April.
Yeah. Yeah. A great group here, 6 through 10. But now you guys can see why I was giving Raf all kinds of grief, right, on a watch list, right, that has two reigning state champions and two reigning state finalists on it, right, in Frisco Wakeland and Lake Travis. But yeah, I had multiple conversations, but had really good conversation with Frisco Wakeland head coach Jimmy Langford, or let me rephrase that, recently in Hall of Honor inductee Jimmy Langford, right? So. Big shout out to Coach Langford. But yeah, we discussed all of that exactly, right? Just going back to that final, the experience, what that was like. The the most interesting in watching that and being there in that state final versus Cedar Park was it was newfound territory for what is the most consistent program in the state of Texas, right? And you saw them beginning to mount that comeback, but they just ran out of time, right? It was late. It started too little, too late, and they ran out of time. And but they were nonetheless, even in defeat, they were very humble, professional, still very impressed by them. And all glory goes on that day. Cedar Park was definitely the better team, but yeah, I think you really know what to expect from Wakeland, no matter what. Uh, yeah, Grapevine was probably one of the most intriguing squads that we had covered going into a state playoffs last year, right? Because a traditional power and had been a state champion before, very synonymous with making runs to Georgetown. And then you looked at the record last year and you were going into the state playoffs, and it was like, what is going on here, right? And obviously they play in a very tough district, but even then, you just felt that you saw that district that they play in. Inevitably, they got healthier at the right time. They were a totally different team from who they were back in January, and they got steam, right, and they went on a run. They went on a great run in the state playoffs. So very interesting to see, just as you mentioned, Rafa, how do they that experience now and what they bring back. How do they immediately fall right back in place to the grapevine, the traditional grapevine as we know it, or does it take them a little while to get going again? Forney is Forney. Just another name that we consistently see in the mix over the last couple of years. A very respected program, very well coached program. So yeah, this one I could definitely see on this list. And then Katy Seven Lakes, again, another one that's just been routinely in the mix. Regional finals, regional semifinals, and showing up in a state semifinal. Nothing too shocking there. And then of course Lake Travis, the Fighting Will Maloney's out of Lake Travis, making a run all the way to a state final last year in a very, very, very exciting final. That, as I told him, right. But yeah, so interesting group here. So final thoughts on this, Coach, before we transition over to the boys.
Yeah, and I did have some like other ones that kind of on the cusp too. I mean, like you know, like Ridge Point's one. Like I said, also leading towards Ridge Point. Just as an honorable mention.
Yeah.
The St. Ellie girls, you know, they've had faced a lot of success. What are they going to do to take that next step to get to regional, to get to Georgetown? So there are, like I said, there's other programs you do need to keep an eye on. That maybe will make an appearance on the RPI.
So there you have it. There is Rafa's. I'm afraid to call it RPI list, right? So
They're not.
list. Gotta give you grief, man. Gotta give you grief. All right, so we move on to the boys' side here. So our 10 on the watch list for the men's soccer side. Coach, tell us about these first 5.
So yeah, Fort Worth, Castleberry. What a great run they had last year. They've they've were kind of like a team on the rise, and they finally broke through. And like I said, they had a great season. What is the current like I said, what are they going to do here in 2026? What can they do? Can they take that next step, become that kind of the elite state power, you know, for their region? Number two, I know there's a little controversy on this,
Oh
but
yeah, this one I could
you know,
definitely see on this list. Yeah.
this one had to be on the watch list. Is Progresso. And you know what happened last year with the ineligible player, the whole the drama last, you know, and to me, I put them on the watch list as, what's going to happen to them this year? How do they rebound from the disappointment on not being able to play in that regional final, and for the mistakes that as far as the eligibility and so forth. Do they learn from that? How are they going to redeem themselves? And also, do they still have the talent to make some noise again, like they were? Because they were like I said, they were steamrolling teams, and until they got to that, until that forfeit. So, or that, and I want to see what they're going to do this year. Third team is, like I said, is Salado. It would have kind of, I think, take a lot of. I know the girls get a lot of attention, but the boys found a way. They made a great run. They took full advantage of that opportunity, and you know can they have a good opportunity? Hopefully, to see maybe they can repeat again this year. So keep an eye on them. And then San Ellie, like as a San Ellie, like you mentioned, I know they fell short a little last year, but I have a feeling they're going to bounce back, and I think they're going to make some noise again. And like I said, Region One better take notice on them. Them out there in the El Paso area. And then number 5, I know Kevin also mentioned about this team, and I had them last year in my RPIs. They kind of snuck in there, and they were making some noise, and they've really kind of established themselves as Lubbock Monterey. Um, could they finally kind of get through, be able to beat some of those Dallas area teams and represent Region One for 5A?
Oh, sorry. There, my mute button wouldn't unmute there. So, sorry. Yeah, great stuff. Yeah, I mean, you talk about Castleberry, Salado, and Salado. What a run, right? In terms of just talk about the complete unexpected and capitalizing it and being in the right position to be opportunistic and get it done, right? Making a great run, a great final. And then, yeah, Sanelli will be under, new leadership, right? New head coach. So that's an interesting one, right? A traditional staple out of 4A on the boys' side. How do they respond to a new coach, right? And Lubbock Monterey, definitely one that's continues to be in the mix. Do they make that big jump? And then again, Progresso being the story really late last year in a game that you were in person, right, ready to cover a
Mhm.
state semifinal, and then it was kind of ta-da, big surprise, right? So yeah, what does that look like from the player perspective to the coach perspective, coming out of the valley? So, all right, 6 through 10, coach, tell us about these next five.
So six is like I said, six kind of ties in with kind of with seven. Um, I know you had Rocky one and maybe you'll see Rocky two. Um, Paulo versus Rocky here. Uh, like I said, Prosper Walnut Grove with a great season. They won a great match in that final. Um, and I'm hearing, like I said, that very young team that's returning a lot of talent. And you know, are they going to get back to Georgetown again? And I have a good feeling though that they do. They do. I know they'll have that target on their back, but this is a team, like I said, to really watch. This it has a good opportunity to repeat, which ties into team number seven, which is San Antonio Southwest, a team that they played and finished runner up. There was a big hype on them. Well, this past year, I know they were my top for my RPIs locally for San Antonio. They were my top school for the majority of the season. Um, Great run, great talent, coach well. Um, they got things done, and like I said, just fell a little short. They almost, like I said, almost had an equalizer in one. You know, in that game that just kind of, like I said, just couldn't get it through. And there's a lot of high expectations again this year. Can they make comeback? And are we going to see a repeat of the final of these two teams playing against each other in the final? We'll see.
Right, right.
Number eight, Katie Seven Lakes, the boys, um, fell short last year. We were, look at the run they made the last few years. They were kind of the team. You just couldn't touch them. You go when you played against them. You know you probably didn't stand a chance. But things kind of, like I said, things kind of do evolve. You do lose some talent, but how does Katie Samuelis, Colin falling short? How do they bounce back? Can they get that? Kind of get that crown back for that region? And then the Cinderella story last year, Klein Kane. First time ever in the playoffs, first year coach for them, go out and win the big one, and how to, like I said, just a great
Yeah,
story for that
remarkable
program.
story. Remarkable
Yep.
story.
Those boys just they found a way to win. They believed, and they worked hard, and you know, now they have, like I said, now is the target's now on their back. They're not going to be the well kept secret. How do they, how do they deal with that? And I'm sure, like I said, they have a great coach that's going to pretty much keep them down to earth, and they're going to be focused. And I'm sure they'll make another great run, another run at Georgetown. And then number 10, uh, San Antonio Reagan. They've been a story program the last couple of decades. Um, are they going to be the team? I know Southwest gets a lot of the attention, especially with the 5A, but for San Antonio soccer and 6A, Lee's been kind of the one. But Reagan, I've been hearing good things about them. As far as the talent wise, with the returning, can Coach Real kind of navigate through that tough first two rounds, and then getting in also into the final? Can it be that first team for San Antonio in a while to get back to the state to Georgetown?
Right, and I think that you talk about these other 6 through 10, these other five. I just now you can again just furthering a point of why why I gave them grief. Right, with three state champions on here. But yeah, that great. Are they destined for a rematch? Right. In Walnut Grove and San Antonio Southwest, right, and a great and what I felt was the best final in last year's state championship weekend. and probably, in my opinion, the best final I had seen there in Georgetown in Birkelbach since the, oh my God, I forget what it was. Was it 2021? I think final between Salina and Midlothian Heritage, the women's soccer final. So yeah, so are those two destined for one another again? Southwest does lose some talent, but they bring back the core, including their top player. What will that look like? How will they adjust? And then you talk about a Jimmy Kruger led Katy Seven Lakes, which will definitely be in the mix, right? Very, very familiar with regional finals, regional semifinal, regional finals at a minimum. Really, a recent state champion as well. They will adjust, and they will definitely be a big player. You can bet on that. And then you got Klein Kane, right? Klein Kane in the mix, coming out of I believe it was Region Three. What will that look like? What will they look like in this next iteration after having won a state title, and as Rafa mentioned, having the target on their back, right? What will that look like? And looks like we lost Rafa there. We'll wait to get him back. So Klein Kane, defending state champion, right? Now dealing with a whole new set of just success, right? How do you now manage success? It's easy when you're the hunter, right? And when you haven't had the success, but then coach comes in and they get a whole, they go from best best season in program history to a district title to a regional title, and then making a run all the way to state. So definitely a great one. And then we have at number 10, Rafa mentioned his pick for number 10, San Antonio Reagan. And yeah, I mean, very much so a consistent staple in the greater San Antonio area and region four, have always traditionally been in the mix for sure. So what we can expect out of Coach Villarreal and his Reagan boys, his Reagan Rattlers, is they will be well coached, they will be well organized, and they will definitely be a player coming out of the San Antonio area and have a say in Region 4 as well. So that is going to do it for our picks there. And while we wait on Rafa to come back, we're going to go ahead and transition over to our next part, right? So our Division 1, our champions review. So here, what we've done, if you're joining us just for the first time, traditionally what we've done is we review our champions. So the last time we really talk about last year's state champions. We discuss last year's state champions, and then we also look at who potentially has the best opportunity, the best probability, best layout, whatever you want to call it, to repeat, and who has their work cut out for them the most, who has the highest odds, highest probability, and maybe or the toughest odds. So, excuse me. Why this looks so different now this year and why we're excited about it is because this is the first time we see it. We'll discuss it under the new format of both Division 1 and Division 2. Previously, we had only had 6 state champions, as everybody knew, and now in a D1, D2 format, now we have 12 state champions, which include a field that, if you recall, going back, we discussed it in episode 1 of season 6 of Inside Texas High School Soccer, is we had last year 9 of our 12 state champions were first-time state champions, which was part of the process and the thought behind UIL wanting to make the field bigger, right, in terms of the D1, D2 split. So from that perspective, it was definitely a success, right? We also saw the attendance, right? The attendance in Georgetown was higher attendance, more tickets sold, and bigger crowds, obviously, in less games. So that was one other thing to take back. So, all right. So, excuse me. First, we're going to go ahead and we're going to look at our D1 champions review here. And when we do that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to start with 4A here in Salina. 4A women's soccer, looking at D1. Salina, who was already coming into last year a 3-time state champion and a defending state champion. And then also 4A on the men's soccer side, the Salado Eagles, who went on, as we discussed earlier, just a historic run to the state final and breaking through. Obviously, they had to deal with, through no fault of their own, were just caught in the middle of the Progresso the Progresso drama, or saga, whatever we want to call it, what a controversy, right? But needless to say, they were there, they were game, they were ready to go, and they moved on, they advanced, and then of course took full advantage of in a great 4A D1 final last year, and won the state title. Excuse me. 5A, we look at 5A here as we go ahead maximize. So 4A, A&M Consolidated, a program I was huge on from the start last year, and proved to be probably start to finish the most consistent program in the state of Texas last year. All right, excuse me. Drink of water there. And then on the 5A side, we also had, I think we might have Rafa coming back in, a fuzzy Rafa. Then on the 5A side, we had Prosper Walnut 5A boys side. We had Prosper Walnut Grove, who also, again, we just talked about it, played in what was probably the state championship weekend match of the weekend versus San Antonio Southwest. And then in 6A, we had the 6A women's Coppell and 6A men's Klein Kane, who we've discussed quite a bit, and Coppell, who took down a very much so game Lake Travis. And I keep telling it right. I told I told Will Maloney this last week at Tasco at the convention that this is probably the most exciting 6-2 game I've ever seen. So a great game. Rafa, your thoughts?
Like I said, great all state champions. They had all of them great runs and so forth. Like I said, Salina making history, getting their fourth one. Salado finally, like I said, the boys finally were able to get one. You know, and usually the girls have been kind of making the noise, but the boys are able to get one. What you can say about A&M Consolidated girls got the job done. Prosper Walnut Grove, like I mentioned, that was probably the most exciting game I'd seen for as far as in a while. And I've seen some pretty good ones, and that one lived up to it. And then Coppell, like I said, back where one of those story programs, and then Klein Kane, finishing that Cinderella story, that little fairy tale. Uh,
Yeah. Thoughts on this one, if you had to say out of this group, right? Most likely to repeat. If you had to bet your paycheck on it, most likely, or not bet your paycheck, but we just say let's say you had to put your mortgage on it, right? Who would who would you put all of the odds on here to repeat?
I think Salina. I think Salina's going to get one for the
Oh,
thumb.
come on now, that's too easy. Come on, that's too easy.
That one's kind of the obvious. Um, I can probably see maybe Prosper one. They were a young team
Yeah.
last year. They have a lot of talent. I know there's another team may say otherwise if we want another crack at them, but I think they have a shot at maybe repeating it again.
Yeah, that Prosper Walnut. What's scary about them is they have a ton of sophomores, a couple of freshmen. I think that final MVP I think was a sophomore last year, if I'm not mistaken. Trying to remember. I think it was, or I might be wrong. God forbid he was a freshman, but I think he was a sophomore. Excuse me. So yeah, I don't know. In this group, I think that's I think that's the one on the surface that I want to say probably Walnut Grove. It's to me it's between the 5As. I think with what A&M Consolidated returns as well, could they be? Yeah, I feel like Salina is. We've picked them multiple times, right? I feel like and then with the new coach, don't want to put all that pressure on Coach Moles there at Salina, moving over to the girls' side. So and trying to shake it up a little bit. I'm kind of with you. I'm kind of between A&M Consolidated and Walnut Grove as well. So, all right, that does it for D1, and we switch over to D2. Thoughts on this one, Coach?
Yeah, here in the D2, you kind of notice out of all the six here, you know, five of them are first time winners. There's a lot of first time state champions on here. Look at Kenyon Randall. Um, Austin Achieve, really nobody talked about them, and then like I said, they had a great run last year. Cedar Park, with a surprise, kind of taking, you know, taking away from a state championship from a really short program and kind of flexing its muscle too. And Liberty Hill, and we know kind of the circumstances of that, but still, you can't deny they had a great season too. They totally earned it. Marcus, it was Marcus is Marcus. The women's program. It's either, like I said, that district there and that district six. You always pretty much have a state champion in that.
Right.
Well, you had Capel that
Both of them.
district too.
Yeah. Right. Right.
Both
Right.
of them. So you know that one of District Six is going to be representative one way or the other. Then Austin Vandegrift boys. I know they kind of fell short about a couple of years ago, and they kind of pieced it together, and they were able to take full advantage of it, and they were able to finish the job and get that time.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. It's perfectly well said. 5 of these 6 are first time state champions, and then again, as I had mentioned earlier, 9 of the 12 are first time state champions, right? So, yeah, interesting mix. That Canyon Rendell, that their victory over Wimberley was a great. Went to a, I think, if I recall, not only penalties but sudden death and penalty. Excuse me, sudden death and penalties, which it was the first match of the day, and it was high drama. Austin achieved making all kinds of history last year, becoming the first public charter school to win a state title, and the first program to be led by a woman coach, a boys program to be led by a woman coach as well. So that was awesome to watch. Cedar Park, of course, probably with a big shocker of championship weekend, not because Cedar Park wasn't good, but just because it was Frisco Wakeland, right? And more importantly, the way that game played out and the way they defeated Frisco Wakeland. Liberty Hill, yeah, you talked about the circumstances in which they were named state champions, but nonetheless, they were there. They, and congratulations to them. What will that look like for them now? Kind of so you can tell. I would imagine there's still very much a significant type of hunger there in them. Yeah, and then Marcus, of course, we talked about District 6A, one of 2 state champions coming out of that district, along with Coppell, and then Austin Vandegrift making that run on the boys' side. So you look at these 6, Coach, featuring 5 first timers, right? Do you just go with Marcus on here, or what would you say? Who do you feel, given all the circumstances, represents maybe the best odds here to repeat as a state champion?
I would think maybe Cedar Park. I think they still return talent. I think they have a talented squad. Um, like I said, they don't shy away who they play on. And they mentioned, like I said, they in the beginning of the season they go out and play some of the best teams out there. So I think Cedar Park women have a really good shot at repeating. When it comes to Marcus, like I said, District Six, you know, you can't keep them out of the mix. I think they have a good
Anything
shot.
goes, man. Anything goes
Yeah,
coming out of
anything goes that. I mean, and then you have other teams. You got Flower Mound in there, and they may have an exception to that, and it also depends on
correct.
if they land, could Marcus end up being like in D1? That's going to be a factor
Hmm.
too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where you end up, which division too. So I think those are probably the 2 that have, I think, the really good shot as far as repeating this year.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. I think of this group. I don't know. I mean, Coach Poole, he's going to have them coached up for sure, and definitely cashing in on that success that they've had. But he did graduate a significant amount of that talent, right? So how do they follow it up? I don't. And this one, yeah, I got to go. I got to go with Marcus on this one, just because you know what you're going to get there for sure. Uh, on the women's side in their program, tons of talent. Even though I know they graduated some, but I think they return a healthy mix. Plus, with these programs that just truly reload, right? We talk about it all the time. It's kind of an old cliche of not rebuild but reload, but that is truly a program that absolutely reloads. And if you can just survive your district, you're pretty much guaranteed a decent to deep run in the state playoffs for sure. So that is going to do it for our champions review, our 2025 champions review. We start to wrap up here, Coach. Any thoughts on anything we discussed today before we make our way to stoppage time and final thoughts?
We said some exciting lists of some teams to kind of keep an eye on, and then just looking back on the teams that won state, like you mentioned, nine new state champions. Um, could we have that again this year? Could we have another abundance of brand new state champions? Which I think it's probably going to be a possibility again, the way the playoff format is. And like I said, it's you just don't never know where division, if you're especially on that cusp, what division you can end up. Um, that'll say a lot as far as how deep of a run you can make and the matchups you can get kind of going towards all the way to Georgetown.
Right, right. It is episode 2, season 6 of Inside Texas High School Soccer. We appreciate Rafa again joining us as he battles through audio, audio and some video issues, but being on a remote assignment, not in his usual spot, but we still appreciate it. Yeah. I mean, so much. Cranking out 2 of these on Thanksgiving week, Coach. Really appreciate you. This has been awesome. Really appreciate it. And yeah, we're now getting ready. We'll start to discuss when episode 3 comes out. Episode 3 will feature. Plan on bringing you some more guests, some great guests. And then this is when we start diving into region talk. We're going to force Rafa to unveil an RPI, even though he's afraid to, right? I give him grief about that. But no, he'll what should be the first unveiling of the RPI in episode 3 should be. And but yeah, so I think that is about it, man. That's all we're gonna do. I think that's all we have to cover for today. Your final thoughts, stoppage time, Coach. Take it away.
Just final thoughts. Like I said, hopefully everyone had a nice Thanksgiving. Just a little uh, update on as far as like the other show I'm on, the San Antonio Soccer Roundtable. We're hopefully will do a show next week with Harry. That'll be the premiere of that one. So if you want to know more in depth on high school soccer for the San Antonio area and the surrounding parts too, so tune in on that. Like I said, we're on Facebook, YouTube, and also on X. So be on the lookout for that episode, and then I'll have our guys for that for San Antonio. Well, I'll be probably that one will probably be a little bit later. We'll wait a little bit on that, so everything kind of marinates. We may do a little watch list too as well, but looking forward to kind of brainstorming and see this upcoming RPI. Like I said, I'm not too big on the preseason stuff because the only number one I think is who's the one that's holding the trophy. That's the one that matters.
It's just preseason,
But
man. It's nothing more than
yeah,
buzz. That's all it is. It's nothing more than buzz. That's all it is. So yeah, for sure. So really appreciate you, buddy. Thank you. And I think for me, my final thoughts, 2 things really quick. December 1st is just a few days away, right? We're inside of can't do the math right now, inside of 72 hours or maybe less than that. But I think just want to wish first of all of our athletes, our student athletes everywhere who will be attending tryouts, best of luck. Some of you may have a good idea already of where you stand, others not sure whatsoever. And then you have others who are coming or walking out for the first time to try to challenge for a spot on the roster. So wishing, regardless, everybody the best of luck and that they come out of these tryouts healthy. Wishing coaches the best of luck because we all know the mayhem that is of prepping rosters and being prepared for everything on your select, your select tryout days, whether it's 1, 2, 3 days, what have you this week. But December 1st through December 3rd will definitely be some busy days across the state of Texas for Texas high school soccer on their selection of rosters, selection of teams. Want to wish everybody the best of luck and safety by all means. We do have some weather coming in as well, particularly the northern half of the state, so be safe as well. And then the other thing is, excuse me, besides the start of the year is, December 12th, scrimmages begin. Scrimmages are scrimmages. They're no different than preseason rankings. They don't, they don't mean anything, but we can take a lot from them from the standpoint of as coaches, right, and as players. But you don't win them, you don't lose them. All you do is learn from them, right? Whether it's the players or whether it's the coaches. So the big thing I would say from that is the scrimmages exist for a reason, right? They're there before we begin our non-district play, which is because it always baffles me when people call the season, right, the start of live games, preseason, when it's like, no, your district is your district season, and then your non-district is your non-district, right? So, nevertheless, take advantage of that when you make a roster, right? Take advantage of those scrimmages, and just it's an opportunity for you to show your coach and build chemistry. And it's also not, like I said, get an opportunity to get your legs under you and build chemistry with teammates before the games actually start to count. So want to wish everybody the best of luck there as well, coaches, players, administrators, everybody, because it's nothing says Texas high school soccer is here like crap weather in the forecast, right? So we know it's here, right? It'll definitely be here. It's rolling in over the weekend. So everybody, best of luck, best safety first, obviously, travels, everything. And we really hope everybody enjoyed their Thanksgiving, or are enjoying their Thanksgiving break. Want to wish everybody a post-happy Thanksgiving. If you didn't catch episode 1 of season 6 of Inside Texas High School Soccer, which we filmed back on Wednesday, please go back and listen to that one where we covered, it was our previous show where it kind of goes into great detail as to what we're going to cover this year. So that is going to do it. Rafa, I feel like I'm forgetting something. Am I forgetting anything?
Just looking forward for the first day. I'm sure you're looking forward to first day. Everyone else. Just keep in mind, it's a start, especially for the new players, JV player, like incoming freshmen, sophomores. You know, getting on the roster, JV, great. It's a building point. You may not make the varsity. Hey, it's all right. Show them what you can do in JV, because you can still always get pulled up to the varsity squad towards the end of the season. And like you mentioned about the preseason games, I think a lot of coaches need to realize they're not playoff games. They're not, it doesn't hurt to experiment. See what your bench can do. See what your younger players can do. Put that adversity in them. That's how you build your trust, and that's how you learn how deep is your team is and what you can do and what you can't do. And I've gone to some scrimmages. They treat it like a playoff game. It's not. Just go out there, let the kids have fun, but also learn from it. What can you do? And then also you'll have your coaching points. That's a great perfect opportunity to show your coach. Share your coaching points with your players and so forth. What do you learn? What can we do? And then also learn from, take those things preparing into the season, even into non-district games. Those are still learning points, because the ones that count is going to be when you get to district play.
Right. Well said. Well said. That is going to do it. Final words on the way out. Again, our housekeeping stuff. Make sure you like, rate, subscribe. You can find us on Twitter, on X, on Twix, as we call it, at 50_50 pod. On Instagram, at 50_50 podcast. Excuse me. And on YouTube at the 50_50 podcast as well. YouTube channel, go on there, subscribe. That's the big one. Make sure you take the time to hit that. I know it's going to wear you out, but pick that mouse or whatever, your mouse pad, hit subscribe, right? Takes all of 2 seconds. But definitely subscribe, and then hit that live bell notification. That will let you know, so you'll get prompted every time we launch a new episode, because again, as we always say it, 99, it's something that is our kind of, we wear it as a badge of honor. 99.9% of everything we do is live. So when one of us is having tech issues or whatever, you get to see it all. You experience it all. Is it ideal? Is it perfect? No, but that's, we like for you all to see that, because we're doing it live, right? So we'll do it live, as Bill O'Reilly says. But yeah, very excited. Go on there, like, rate, subscribe. Again, all positive words sent to me, all the bad ones sent to Rafa, right? He's our HR. He's in charge of our complaint department, as we say, for Inside Texas High School Soccer. But I kid, but really appreciate you, Rafa. Thank you, man. Thank you for joining us from time, breaking away from time with family out of town in Del Rio. Really appreciate you as well. And of course, now that we're wrapping up the show, your video is clear and your audio is clear. Go figure, right? That's how it always works. But that is going to do it for season 6, episode 2 of Inside Texas High School Soccer. Join us soon, as we'll be coming back plan is probably in less than 2 weeks for episode 3 of Inside Texas High School Soccer. Really excited for this season. And then again, also December 15th, I don't know, we may include it in part of the Inside Texas High School Soccer show, or maybe it's a separate show, but our 5-year anniversary, right? December 15th. Really excited about that as well. And really kind of shocked, to be honest, that 5 years later, we're still around. So thank you. Thank you to all our listeners, all our supporters, all our day ones, all our P1s, as we call them. Really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Rafa, anything else, buddy?
No, just great show today, and look forward for the start of Monday.
Yep, absolutely. He is the man of 1,000 words, right, Rafa? Appreciate you, brother. Thank you. And again, you know what to do. Until the next time, keep downloading and keep listening. You've been listening to the 50/50 Podcast, powered by the 50/50 Podcast Network. Help us continue to grow by liking, rating, and subscribing on all major podcast platforms. And don't forget to follow us on X at 50_50pod, on Instagram at 50_50 podcast, as well as on YouTube at the 50_50 podcast. Until the next time, keep downloading and keep listening.